Sheppy needs no introduction, but his website, sheppyware.net. He sells electronic play and emulated.
Okay, so I've got 2 demos. They will nest one inside the other. As is the tradition, there is a new version of Sweet16 this year. It is not the big update that I had originally planned to do because it took me longer to find somebody to take over Syndicom than I had hoped. Stop, really, come on. So we'll go ahead and just we'll just give that a start up here, and I am going to put that full screen. Come on. There we go. That's better. Okay, so the first change, and just a little thing, is that the number one technical support request I get is, I got into full screen mode and I don't know how to get out. So now down at the bottom it tells you how to get out. Yeah, exactly. Actually, okay. So let's make our way through the new stuff. This is, my usual drive. I've been using the same emulator boot disk since 1994. Yes, this is a MacBook Air. So let me go through some of the little things that are done first. I fixed some crash bugs. It used to crash when you tried to clear the recent disk list. That's fixed. Oh, how about that? It's listed twice. Sound emulation, I completely rewrote the sound code. It used to use the old Carbon sound manager, and now it uses Core Audio. So it sounds nice. There've been some optimizations made to the way the sound code works. It used to, for performance reasons, back in the old days when this code was first written for, 50 megahertz machines, it used to shut off the sound circuitry, so to speak, whenever there wasn't sound playing. And while that was great for performance, it resulted in occasional clipping of the sound when sound was starting up. So I got rid of that code because it was really not necessary anymore. Let's see. There used to be a, this is going to take a second, sorry. There used to be an enable and disable sound option here. It's been renamed to mute sound. It doesn't actually shut off the sound emulation anymore. It just turns off the volume, because shutting off the sound emulation meant that sound interrupts were not being sent anymore. And it turns out GSOS crashes when you don't send sound interrupts as expected. So now you don't have that problem anymore. People used to turn off the sound because they didn't want to hear the sound, and it made everything not work right anymore, so that's gone. Let's see. Lots of little things. When you pause now, yeah, a lot of things do that. When you pause it, it now dims the screen very dark. It is not quite black, but it is close. It's less black on here than it is up there. When you turn on, it used to have in the window menu, there used to be an option where it would pop up a window to show your system speed. Now it does view, show system speed. It puts it there instead, which is really a neat little effect. And it's actually an overlay. If you mouse there, the mouse goes under it. Oh yeah, you can still click on stuff up there, and it'll draw there and like on your text screen and stuff too. So, turn that back off. Let's see, what else do we have? There's some emulation improvements. When you do a warm reset, it clears out memory the same way a real GS does, instead of nuking all memory to 0 like it used to do. Little stuff like that. It actually makes a couple of utilities work more accurately, things like that. Dude, don't mess with my presentation, dude. Yes, a couple of improvements to the mouse emulation. It now will send, if you right-click on the mouse, it actually generates the appropriate bits in the I/O registers for the right-click event, or the right-click of the button. It used to always send to button 0, and now it'll differentiate between button 0 and 1. This will tie into my next demo. One neat little feature I did was if you shut down, you now get that, and it adds a quit button to that box, so you can hit the letter Q, and you're out of Sweet16 instead of having to go to the menu bar. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And then the thing that I spent probably the last 2 weeks working on getting right is, let's see, we'll go back to full screen mode because it's easier for you guys to see what's going on there. Sync, there you go. We can open up a window. Actually, let's go to, here's where I want to be. I'll go to, just a readme. Source code. And I don't know if you can see, but I'm using the scroll wheel feature on my trackpad or mouse. There's a 2-finger scroll on the Mac. It now works. It is. There's actually two code paths it takes, and this is really awesome, cool hack stuff that made me totally proud of myself the last couple weeks. If you're in a text edit box like this, it actually calls the TE scroll command to tell text edit to scroll, which is very, it figures out which control you're pointing at, looks to see if it's a text edit box. If it is, it calls TE scroll. If you're not in a text edit box, let's say, for example, you're in the Finder. Okay, this is not a text edit box. So the scrolling works here. What it does is it scans to the right from your cursor position until it finds a scroll bar, basically looking every 4 pixels until it finds a scroll bar. Then it looks at the coordinates of that scroll bar, and if you're scrolling up, it computes the coordinates of the up arrow button, moves the mouse to it, clicks it, moves the mouse back. And then does the same thing for the bottom arrow. And this works in, the Finder, as you've seen, but it also works in... Right. It also works in, AppleWorks GS and whatever. So, and it works in, your, basically any window that has a scroll box. If your mouse is to the left of a scroll bar, it will find that scroll bar and it will manipulate that scroll bar. It's obviously nicer looking for text edit because it can do it directly. There is, as it turns out, no operating system provided technique for moving a scroll bar and having whatever data is associated with that scroll bar get scrolled automatically. Because the application that created the scroll bar is responsible for doing that in response, and it doesn't work the way you would expect it to. So that took me a couple of weeks to get working the way I wanted to, but I think it's really kind of neat. And what's nice is when you're using it in the emulator here, you get used to using things like the scroll bar, the scroll wheel, or whatever on your mouse, and and being able, and then you get frustrated because it's not working on your GS, and that's why I did it. Now it only does it currently for vertical scrolling. I have partial code in for horizontal, but I wanted to get the vertical working, and because that's what most people use. Relatively few people do horizontal scrolling, especially on a screen this small. But I'll get the horizontal working in an update coming sometime soon, because now that I've perfected the technique, all I have to do is just change the direction I'm scanning. And but the code is really cool. I really enjoyed working on it. TextEdit doesn't support horizontal scrolling. So I would just do with the arrows thing for everything, and not have to do any special casing for TextEdit. Yeah. In fact, I actually have code that's commented out right now that actually creates a clipping mask to keep that drawing from happening, but it wasn't working yet in time for KansasFest. But eventually I'll be masking that off so you won't see that flicker of those arrow buttons anymore. which will just make it look a little bit more polished. Let's see, is there anything else before I move on to number 2? This is just my personal GS setup, yeah. No, that has nothing to do with anything. This is just my personal GS setup here. This is what I do all my GS work on, is this setup here. So the next project, which I will demo in Sweet16, a few years ago, I don't remember what year it was it 08? Must have been 08, I think, 2008. I released SideClick, which is a contextual menu system for the GS where if the user control clicks or now right clicks, they get a context menu that appears, which would look something like, like this. And what I've done in SideClick 2.0, which I'm going to be releasing tonight, just like Sweet16 2.3 here, they will both be out within minutes of my finishing here. In fact, I've got the website changes all staged. All I have to do is hit a button and boom, it's out. What I've done is something I had wanted to do before but had not been able to figure out how to do because it took some hacking through the Finder. Another thing I'm really excited about having been able to figure out is that now when you right-click on one or more Finder icons that are selected, for example, let's select these disks here and right-click. Now we get Finder-specific options here because SideClick is now sending along a list of the selected Finder icons to the add-on. Now, why is it saying only one item? Oh, because I didn't do it right. That's why. There we go. And now it's got 4 items selected. So what happens is you can now you can do icon info or whatever, and because it's contextual, you look at what it looks like here, and it's giving you things like eject, verify, what does a block scan or whatever, and then if you do it on, say, this icon here, you just get the things that are relevant for a file. If you do it on the trash, and I'm actually going to move the trash so the menu doesn't get clipped, you'll see icon info only because that's the only one that's available for the trash. That is coming soon. I'm actually going to be working on those things are all in a basically SideClick comes with like 4 or 5, I don't remember which number it is, little extra extensions you can install to take advantage of it. One of them is this new Finder one. I'm actually going to be doing another extension separately that is going to do some trash-related features, including the empty trash on right-click. But also, I have figured out finally how to do keystroke for moving things to the trash, which I have been trying to figure out how. I have a project file in Merlin on my emulator here that was created in 1994 where I started trying to figure out how to make that work, and I've just finally figured out how to do it, so I'm going to do that. And so it will do both, like Command Delete to move stuff to the trash, and it'll add the option on the right click there.
Will work on a real GS.
Yes, right, exactly. And if you happened to find, by some miracle, an ADB mouse that sent a right click on a right click, most of them use it for like a click lock on the left button. But if you happened to find one, it should work. It would work. No. One thing to keep in mind when you do upgrade to Sweet16 2.3 is all the little GS extensions and stuff that comes with need to be upgraded to get some of these new features. So read the instructions, and mount the tools disk from, in fact, I'll show you that. It's, there's actually a menu option to do it here. Setup menu, yeah, and mount tools disk, and it puts up that, and then there's a README that tells you what to install where, and it's actually the Sweet printer init is where almost all of this magic happens, because when the init was first created, it was just for printing support. And I decided against renaming it because I didn't want people to wind up with like 2 copies of this thing with different names and getting into trouble. So I have better things to do. If you, my opinion is if people can't figure out how to do this by following the instructions provided, they shouldn't be using it in the first place. It's free, people can get over it. And you know, I have like the you know, and these are old features. You know, the ability to transfer your text from your clipboard back and forth between the GS and the Mac. It's an NDA from Ewan. It's help for Spectrum. And toggle full screen switches you between full screen, regular screen mode. That was my first attempt to help people get past their inability to get out of full screen mode, but it turns out that most people don't install it, so it didn't do them any good. So that is, I guess, really it. If anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer. I actually do have a couple more things. This does still run on PowerPC. It is version 2.3 is the last major release that I expect will. After, I mean, there might be a 2.3.1 if I decide to go ahead and put in the horizontal scroll thing or whatever. But after that, I'm planning to go to Intel only, most likely. This is Intel right now, yeah. It does require macOS 10.5 now. Version 2.2 worked on 10.4, but now it requires 10.5 because some of the stuff I'm doing just was vastly easier that way. It does run on Lion. I'm running Lion now, and it works fine there. Let's see, what else? I guess that's all I got. If anybody has questions or comments, the SideClick package, the downloadable package, includes sample code and documentation for how to write, programs that use the contextual menu stuff. So that's all there, and it should all be available like any minute now. Well, that's not right. See what happens. Anyway, so yeah, if anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer them now. Mm-hmm.